What's up? This is the Crypto Cheat Sheet Market Review. Today is March the 21st, 2018. My name is Brad. I'm here with Trey, the crypto charting expert. He's going to give you guys everything you need to know about the crypto markets as soon as I talk you guys through a spreadsheet. How you feeling about the markets this week?
If people are relying on me to be the crypto charting expert, we have much bigger issues. But we'll hit it here in a second. But that miracle close on Sunday, I think we should all be feeling quite a bit better than we did Sunday afternoon.
All right, let's jump in and look at this week. Starting at the top, I think since we started doing this is the first time we've had more than 50 of the top 100 that are up against US dollar. So, hell yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
We made it through.
we aren't the problem anymore.
So, out of the top 100 coins, 81 were up against US dollar, an average of 9.14%, which is awesome. Still haven't gotten that altcoin run, although things definitely look a little bit better this week. We had 38 out of the top 100 up versus Bitcoin, averaging down about 1.11%. Lowest coin in the top 100 was Storage. They're about 112 million. This has stayed pretty consistent. We've been at that like 110 to 120 range, kind of since we started doing this. Some of the top gainers, we got some that we actually recognize in this list this week, which is cool. And Aeon, this thing's been in here 2 weeks in a row. This was, it was supposedly on this Palm Beach pump and dump report. I think it just kind of kept going.
I think it's actually a legit coin. I mean, there may have been some group that was moving it, but there's at least some substance behind this one, so it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, it's playing in that space with Polkadot and Cosmos and trying to be the internet of blockchains, trying to play that role. We had Icon. This thing was added to Bithumb and Upbit. I mean, the Koreans are all over this thing. It's their Ethereum. And they also, Bithumb is doing some kind of they're doing an airdrop of Icon. If you trade more than $1 million, $1 million, it's not dollars, but
Dong or whatever. It's Dong.
Yeah. In the next month, then they're gonna airdrop you more Icon. So they're all in.
Let's go ahead and watch those volumes up to everyone gets their drop.
Minex coin. This thing. So I looked at this coin. I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it. They tout themselves as a global payment system built on low volatility, and then here they are as the coin that's up. The third most of any during the week. So
looking forward to seeing Tether in this as well.
I would be willing to bet. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that this ends up in the top losers list next week. If I had to guess. So what kind of volatility it's really got.
Yeah.
EOS. This is a big coin. This thing's top 10. Over $5 billion market cap. It was
Big
up 30, almost 35% this past week. That's a big deal. And then closing out with Loopring, they're a platform for decentralized exchanges competing with ZRX. Up 33% this week. So some good gainers, which is nice to see.
First time in a while.
First time in a while. Top losers, we had New Economy Movement. This thing looked like it had a big run up. I think it looked like some people might have known that this thing was getting added to Binance. It got bought up and then dumped back down. Smart Cash, which is just barely hanging on to the top 100. This was a Zcoin fork. It's down almost 23%. Electronium, this was on the list last week as well. I think it's just falling apart. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Veritasium. I mean, I hadn't heard of this one. I Google searched it. Like the top several articles were just like basically talking about how much big of a scam this was. So may or may not be, but I didn't get much out of it. And
No.
then Kin, which is the Kick social networking like messaging app ICO. They were down a little under 10%. So, just overall looking at these coins that are down, 23%, actually not that bad.
No, I mean, especially if we're looking against the dollar, and Bitcoin pops from, we were at 7,500, 8K last week, and we're approaching 9 as of today. As long as altcoins aren't dumping while Bitcoin's moving up, you're going to see some gains and some losses, and kind of average out to pretty much flat. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's sometimes when Bitcoin goes on runs and alts just get battered, but I
yep.
think they've taken such a beating that it's a lot of them, and we'll get into this. I know you've got some charts queued up here to show this, but a lot of them have hit their kind of historical support zones. So you're starting to find some more pretty good. You can start to see some better risk reward, buy opportunities. So
Yeah, I think it also, Tom Lee of Fundstrat, who, again, like one of the sharpest guys in the field, he came out this week and basically said he thinks the worst of the altcoin bear market's over. That helps. I agree with him. We've basically seen nothing but doom since last June, July, except for like a 6-week run and in the end of last year into January. So we were getting kind of back into that where downsides on non-scam coins is fairly limited, and there's actually some upside to be had if confidence returns to the crypto markets with Bitcoin.
All right, let's close this out. Top 400. So usually, I mean, surprisingly, historically, these have been all pretty consistent. And this week, we were double checking it before we started. Like, what is this? Why is the 100 to 200 group up 80%? And so dug into it, and there's one coin, Era, that is up 7,000% or so. Let me see if I can find it. There it is.
I'm just glad I had $10,000 in that one.
Yeah, skewed the numbers a little bit. Skewed the numbers a little bit. But, hey, if you had that one, good for you, because you killed it.
Never heard of it.
All right, let's look at the charts. I got some stuff you sent over here. Talk us through this Bitcoin dollar chart here.
Yeah, we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, where you look back as far as Bitstamp will go, which is back into 2011, 2012, and when Bitcoin is above the 200-day moving average, it's normally bullish and extended bullish. When it's below it and struggles to get back above it, it's bearish and remains bearish. So back in February, we punched down through that 200-day moving average, popped right back up through it pretty quick. That was 4-ish days below it. We've been below it a good bit longer this time. And the daily closed a couple hours ago, basically stalled out at it. I would think, I don't want to say we have to get back over that immediately, but within the next couple of weeks, if we still can't breach that 200-day moving average, it's not going to paint a very pretty picture. Now, you look around the market at things that are going on, positive news, Lightning launched, Bitcoin continues to move forward technologically. There's no real reason for us to be bearish. Now, we're coming off the heels of a 100x run over the prior 2 years, and we've been in a 3 to 4 month bear phase here with Bitcoin. So, is there the potential that this stays, bear for a little while? Sure, but I have a tough time seeing it. I think some sideways and flirting with that line back and forth is probably more likely, especially you look at that stock RSI, it's getting up into oversold territory on the daily. We just stalled out at it. Pretty fair chance we come back down and retest 8K similar to how we did in February. We punched up through it, got almost to 9,400, came back, tested 8, and then we took off to go back to 12. So until we get on top of that 200-day moving average, I would lean towards exercising caution on being incredibly bullish. I again don't see the case to be incredibly bearish, but for now, let's make sure 8K holds and see what we can do to try and get on top of that 200-day moving average.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it is hard to be full bull when you're sitting underneath the 200-day.
Yeah, and, you and I have been in this long enough. We're as bullish on Bitcoin as anyone can be, but there's also, exercise a little bit of, prudence here. Like the chart's telling you something, don't ignore it. And
Right.
it's right now, it's not screaming full bull. It's screaming, hey, need to be paying attention here because we are in a precarious spot between 8K and really 9,400 here.
Yeah. All right, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's go ahead and click over that one. And this is the same chart, but we've got now the daily Ichimoku cloud, and with that comes the tin can and the Kijin, and those are basically additional EMAs. It's the orange and blue line in there. It's tough to see because there's a lot of them, but then we also have the 50, 100, and 200-day EMAs in there and that 200-day moving average. So with where price is right now, we have 6 lines that are or 6 moving average lines that are key for providing support and resistance. And while that tin can and Kijin with the tin can on top of the Kijin is technically a bullish state, we're below the cloud, so it's a weaker signal, and we have it's a confluence of resistance right there that, I mean, it's going to take some volume to pop up through that. So again, the 200-day moving average I would consider the most key line that we're watching, but you also have to consider, like, there's a lot of other key lines right here, moving average lines, that are currently providing pretty stiff resistance that at some point we've got to get on top of, or they're going to continue to suppress price. And if you scroll back in that chart a little bit, Brad, you'll see that all 6 of these lines here over the past year and a half, 2 years, have provided support. So if they suddenly start becoming resistance, you got to pay attention to that. Like, that means that we're probably not going bullish here in the near future. Now, I still think additional sideways is in order. I'd love to see us pop up and run those stops at 12 to 14K. And I do think over the next couple of weeks, that's where we're going. But I think with what we're seeing right now, there's, excuse me, a fair chance we come back down, retest 8K, and build a little momentum going back, trying to get through those, through all those moving average lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to find or to see the long risk reward setup here. Like,
Yeah,
everything's on top of you. You got, literally 6 lines in a cloud and 10K and everything above you. But
it's there's nothing with what we're looking at right here that would scream go long. If you're buying spot, you got a little more to work with. If you're playing leverage, I'm looking for a dip, or I'm looking until we're on top of those and have those behind us. But right now, I mean, if you're a true trader, you're looking at all those and saying, I'm shorting those until we pop through them.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. We got this is the weekly.
So the weekly, as you can see here, that gold line is the 50-day EMA, and it has again provided support this entire bull run. And so we punched down through that in February, immediately popped back up. We popped all the way down to it again last Sunday, and as Brad will attest, I mean, midday Sunday, we were ready to hop on here and be like, all right, guys, here's the bear targets. This is what you need to be aware of. We're not going up anytime soon. Well, we got a pretty miracle buy up there Sunday, and second time in 2 months now, the price has breached down below 8K and been bought back above it on the weekly. And I think it's key to note, like, things that happen in markets are not normally coincidental. There's a reason they're punching down to these, and there's a reason they're closing above it. It creates sentiment in the market, and especially amongst big traders, where if you're trying to move a market one way or the other, and I know for the most part market makers don't care, um, you're you can't do certain things without spooking the market, and a spooked market is really difficult to move up. So they spooked the shit out of the market when they ran it down to 7,200 Saturday and Sunday, but it was bought back up. And when I'm looking at that weekly chart, again, it doesn't look terribly bullish, but at the same time, it's tough to be bearish with the fact that 8K level is now held twice and on pretty large volume.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing to point out on this chart, and we've talked about this multiple times as well, over the last few years and really the history of Bitcoin, when that weekly stock RSI turns up into out of the oversold range, it's normally a really good multi-week, multi-month trade. And we're still down in the oversold range and working our way that way. But if we could make a higher low with stock RSI here and potentially turn up over the next couple of weeks, we have the potential to run up to that 12K range. And markets seek liquidity. And so liquidity clearly right now is 12K and 8K. And we've tested 8K, went up and tested 12K. We've come back down and tested 8K. In theory, the next stop, now that 8K has held, hopefully, is we're going to go up and test that 12K line. And so when we get to 12K, if we were to pop through that, there's a ton of stops and margin calls up in that range. And what stops and margin calls on shorts act like when they're closed is buy orders. So what most likely happens if we pop above that 12K line is those shorts and margin calls closing or covering is going to propel us higher than what you would expect. We're not going to just run up and hit 12K. If we go to 12.4, it's most likely going to, just like in a dump, it's going to cascade up as well to where we maybe hit 14 or even 17K on a little bit of a pop here. And then, from there, the market will make its determination. I don't see anything here that says, hey, all-time highs in the next 2-3 weeks. Anything can happen. I also didn't see that miracle save on the weekly on Sunday either. So things can certainly happen, but really what I'm looking at here is 12K and 8K. If we hit 8, long it and with a stop below, and if we hit 12, short it, the stop above. Although next time we test 12K, I could see a pretty nice stop run, just like we had a really nice stop run below 8K. So kind of what we're looking at there. Still waiting for that stock RSI to turn up.
And on this 12K run, you would have, if it does clear all that resistance that we were showing, all of a sudden that becomes support.
Exactly right. So if we can get up above that, I mean, go back to that daily chart we were just looking at, the one right before this. You get up there, you're in the cloud, you're above all those moving average lines.
Then you get the edge to edge trade probably.
Yep. Yeah,
this
exactly.
This is a key level, man. If we can bust this, that would be extremely bullish, I would think.
Yeah, if we get back up to 10.7, I think there's a very high likelihood that we're going somewhere in that 14K range within a few weeks. And once we get there, all bets are off. It could keep going. It could come down. It could do some more consolidating. There's no way of knowing. But
we could also just roll over from here.
Exactly right. I mean, it's a market. They're dynamic. They can do whatever they feel like doing. So, let's look at a couple altcoin charts. And before we get into talking about these, so we talked last week about needing market confidence back before alts can run. And normally when you see alts running, Bitcoin is sideways for the most part, or even slightly up. If Bitcoin is moving hard in one direction, altcoins usually are just dumping. So we talked about if 8K can hold, it's potentially going to restore some confidence to the markets. And so this chart right here is 0x, and you can see that spike down there into what I would consider a liquidity zone. It spent quite a bit of time bouncing in, up and above, and down below that. And so when we got that spike on Sunday, and this and many other alts bounced pretty hard and shown some life. And while there's not a ton of volume, this is Poloniex exchange. There's not a ton of volume there right now anyway. It's pretty clear that there's a tad bit of confidence that's come back to the markets. And so when I'm looking at this chart, great little bounce out of that. I don't see this as a great spot to get in, but I would be watching this, and if it goes back and tests that green box or in that area we're looking at, it'd be a pretty good spot to take a position in, because at that point, you've now made a higher low. Things are looking pretty good, especially if Bitcoin pops up. You want to have some exposure to alts if we get another alt season. I mean, uh, those that have seen an alt season understand what I'm saying. It's tough to explain, but it's like a crazy 2 to 3 months where it's basically insane runs. Like, look what happened December to January here. I mean, ZRX went from like 1,000 to 18,000. It was absolutely insane, and that was
Yeah.
in 2 months. So if we get another reversal here and ZRX takes off again, I think it's a coin with a ton of substance behind it, a ton of backing behind it. It's a coin that I would want to have a position in.
Yeah.
Let's bounce over there and let's look at that other chart. And so this is Gollum, and again, we've hit on Gollum on our podcast before, and there is again ton of substance, ton of backing behind this coin. And so what this green box is kind of showing here is another level that is somewhat key, a liquidity zone. And yes, we popped below it and spent a little time below it, but for the last 5 6 months, we can see that this is a level where price has respected on both sides a couple times. So um, I don't think that this is going to shoot to all-time highs anytime soon, but we saw this come in, bounce up pretty nice, and start to form what maybe is a little bit of a reversal pattern, similar to how we took off last December. So these aren't. I've said it multiple times. I don't think we should be going balls to the wall with altcoins yet. I mean, there's not volume back on these yet. There's um, cursory signs at best of reversals. There's a pretty fair chance we could get, 6, 8, 12 weeks of sideways. And if we were to get that at this level, we could start looking at altcoins and say, all right, this thing's been sideways in this range for a long time. Most likely the next move is up, considering most of the preceding move was down. So, um, looking at several of these, there's charts across the board that look like this. I think starting to pay attention to these. In December, we just basically spiked out of that bottom and went straight into a run.
Yeah.
That could absolutely happen again. I'm not saying it can't, but again, exercising a little caution in getting into these. I mean, Bitcoin's precious. If you're gonna put it into another coin, you better be damn sure that coin's going up to make you more Bitcoin, because again, there's only so many Bitcoins, and that's what everybody
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. There's a lot of charts are starting to look like this. They're kind of back down at these levels that are historical support zones, and you can start making some plays. And don't take. I think your advice is valid. Don't take all of your Bitcoin and slam it into alts, but you can start laddering your way in, making some plays when they get into these green zones, when they get close to supports. Kind of start making some plays. Start small. Build yourself into a position. That way, if it takes off the wrong way, you're still, you're not out of money, and you can still make, you can either double down or kind of lower your average, position. There's different strategies, but yeah, you're in a much better risk reward zone now than we have been in the last, couple months for sure.
Yeah, and to that point, like we're trying to identify here is risk reward. Any kind of trade, investment, anything you're looking at, you're looking for situations where your upside is greater than your downside. And so I think if you look at these levels that we've just identified, like, yeah, there's downside from here. I think it's minimal compared to any other point in the past couple months. And you look at some of these moves and historical altcoin charts. This is pretty common. We get a little mini test pump here, and it runs up and comes back down and tests support before taking off.
Yeah.
Markets don't move straight up and straight down. They have They move up, they consolidate, they move up, they consolidate, or vice versa. They move down, consolidate, move down, consolidate. But it's all cyclical. Like there is a money flow in cryptocurrencies where it goes from Bitcoin to big caps to mid caps all the way around. And if you can catch the altcoin runs, I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah,
But
it's a challenge, but look for volume too. I think that's one of the big things with this, that you'll see it. You'll know when it's time. It'll pick up, and something will go 80, 100% in a day, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, here we go."
it's time.
Yeah.
Looking
Not
forward
era.
to those days. Yeah, don't buy era.
All right, well, I think that wraps us up. We're at time here. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, we'll continue monitoring and chat about it again next week.
Cool. So check us out. Visit our website, thecryptocheatsheet.com. Follow us on Twitter at thecryptocs. Check out our Telegram channel. We have two. We've got a discussion group, super group, and then we've also got a broadcast channel where we're in there daily. We got a lot of guys that are trading in and out of these markets. You can find the links to those on our website at thecryptocheatsheet.com. Support Moonware. We got swag, hats. Trey's got one on, shirts. We make fun of Bitcoin Cash and Coinbase a lot, so
make fun of any scammers. Coinbase is not a scammer.
Peace.